Good evening, everyone. If I could bring the room to order, I will call to order the August 13th, 2019 meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have roll call?
Council members Devine.
Here.
Garpetian. Quintero. Here. Agajanian.
Present.
Mayor Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
Before the report, Mr. Mayor, if we can have our flag salute, unless you prefer the report before.
I'm on a special agenda meeting here. And whose turn is it? Councilmember Agajanian. Would you like to please?
Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation, which this evening will be delivered by Pastor John Aiken II from Living Stones and Sunland Tahunga SDA churches.
Let's bow our heads. Lord God, be with us today. Thank you for each person that is here. Allow wisdom to reign. And also we thank you for the opportunity to be able to work together toward a better future. In your name we ask these things. Amen.
Now may we have your report?
Of course, the agenda for the August 13, 2019 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Tuesday, August 6, 2019 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And let's go to the next item.
Next item is presentation and appointments. 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of Tuesday, August 20th, 2019.
Ms. Beers?
Yes, we will go to Mr. Golanian.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. For August 20th, 2019, Glendale Housing Authority meeting commencing at 3 p.m. There is one item on the agenda from Director of Community Development regarding annual submission of the Section 8 Management Assessment Program self-certification for fiscal year 2018-2019. Same afternoon, commencing at 3 p.m., there will be a joint meeting of Glendale City Council and the Housing Authority. Report from Director of Community Development regarding consideration of 2 property acquisitions for future development of affordable housing and a contract amendment for property appraisal, acquisition, and maintenance services. That evening, commencing at 6 p.m., under consent items for the City Council meeting, report from Director of Community Development regarding citywide pedestrian plan update, followed by Director of Community Service and Parks regarding the Pacific Park Artificial Turf Project. And under hearings, Director of Community Development regarding consideration of rescission of the denial of the appeal of parcel map number 1631 located at 2116 Rimcrest Drive. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And I would like to call up the Chief of Police. This is an item that's not on our agenda, but in light of the recent tragic events throughout the country in the last 2 weeks, I have asked through the City Manager's office to invite the Chief. This is something that the entire City Council is keenly concerned with and aware of, and we want to make sure that our community remains safe and our children, parents, grandparents are always going to be in the best of hands and hopefully aware of our circumstances and surroundings. So, Chief, this was kind of an open-ended thing, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and you know what's happened, and please give us some insight on the situation.
Good evening, Mayor Najarian, members of the City Council, Carl Povilaitis, Chief of Police. I thought I would just spend a few minutes with you this evening in light of the incidents that had occurred over about 2 weekends ago that were tragic, and we're all very much aware that we had active shooters in public places in Gilroy, El Paso, and Dayton. And I think all of us went to bed one night, looking at a tragedy in El Paso, only to wake up the next morning to see a very similar one in Dayton. And of course, that tends to make a community get on edge and people to be very concerned about what's going on. So let me just run through a little bit, spend a little bit of time talking about two things. One, let me talk about the City of Glendale and how it is prepared to deal with those, and then let me take a second half of the presentation just to talk about sort of the prevention aspects, if you will, because there are some key indicators based on some of the studies that have been done over the years and things that people might want to look for. And when we talk about if you see something, say something, and how important that really is. So in light of those types of incidents or any incident like that, Glendale Police Department is well prepared to deal with that. And it's really a combination and a partnership of all public safety agencies from here locally with our partners in the fire department, but also with other entities. And so when these types of incidents occur, we are monitoring intelligence networks. So we are talking to our federal partners. We have a task force related to organized crime, but that gives us access to federal agencies. We will be talking, we did and continue to talk with private security networks, because every shopping mall, every security company also has its own network that it's talking to. And so we're looking for the information about what's happening, what has happened, and what type of response we need to do. So we are touching base with those. Based on the information that we get, then we start to make adjustments in what we're doing. And what you see on the PowerPoint is the strategic allocation of resources. And so we take our patrol officers, we will increase our staffing if necessary, and then we will focus our staffing into key areas. So you probably will have noticed that we picked up our staffing for various public events. You would have seen more officers in the downtown. You would have seen officers outside of their cars, just to make sure that the public feels comfortable and that we're looking in the right places, that if somebody were to try and do something, that we are near at hand and have a chance of identifying and intervening very, very quickly. None of this occurs in a vacuum, and the preparation for the City of Glendale has been going on for years. We started partnering with the fire department back in 2014 and do joint active shooter type exercises, and that was a very novel concept at the time that we started that, and it's been a very good partnership. We also work with our surrounding agencies. Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena work very well together. We're part of Mutual Aid Area C, so several other departments, if we needed assistance, would come to that, and we go to assist them as well. In fact, a few years back, we conducted a major drill, with our partners in the Galleria, who allowed us to use their facility in the evening so that we could work on, practice and coordinating a response to that, just as a drill. And then we've also done some tactical training with the FBI and the sheriffs in case we happen to run into improvised explosive devices on how we would handle those and how we would hand those off, because those would be handled, and we'd be looking at our partners in the sheriffs to prevent that. The police department's primary role or first role in this is to neutralize the threat. Things changed. Columbine was that incident for the police department. We no longer wait, we're going in. A little bit that's different for the community is we're not stopping, if somebody's injured. We will continue to move into the situation until the threat is neutralized, and then we will come back to help. Now, things will go on simultaneously because this truly is a partnership. And so with the fire department, as soon as we know where the threat is, and we can, if you will contain or identify where that is, we will work with our partners in the fire department to go in and start rescuing people. We're the people who provide force protection. Fire will help evacuate those folks, and then they really have the role of managing the casualties incidents. So triage, treatment, and transport is a big part of what they do, and that is important to us in terms of being able to hand off people who are injured and have them well taken care of. In fact, the fire department last week, this week, and I believe the following week is actually doing a mass casualty drill where they are practicing this part where we've made that handoff so that it works seamlessly into the medical system. So Glendale is one of those communities I think we are very well prepared should the unthinkable happen. We have an advanced level of care available. We have 22 EMTs that are assigned to the police department. They are police officers that have that training. There's another 3 of those that are in training, so we'll be up at about 25. We have paramedics in every fire district. That is a response capability, an advanced life support capability that is valuable in these types of things. Obviously, it's a Class 1 fire department. Every police officer in the department has been trained in tactical medicine, so it's a bit above first aid, and it deals with tourniquets, stopping the bleed, those types of things. So we have that immediate response capability. And maybe more importantly, at least from being able to work through situations as they change, the fire department, our command staff sit down every 2 months and we will tabletop and discuss exercises and how we would work through various scenarios. And that's very important. And then any large event that the city has, we do it as a unified command. There is a single plan that both police and fire work on, and that we know what each other's responsibilities, and there are a variety of contingencies are discussed. As I shift gears a little bit, because the other part is also preparing the community to be able to address these issues. And the training for the community has really, if we break it down into the various simplest concepts, is like run, hide, and fight. If you can get out, run. We'll deal with the rest of it, so get out. If you cannot get out, then hide. You know, barricade doors, hide, you know, make yourself quiet, turn off your cell phones, so that most of the people who are active shooters are looking for easy targets. And so you don't want to be the person that they hear or see, and so you hide. Last resort, if you can't do either of those because that threat is there, then you fight. Whatever weapons are at hand, fire extinguishers, chairs, furniture, whatever you have to disable somebody. But that's the third of the options. And we talk a little bit about first aid because it will take some time for law enforcement to get there. As I said, that our technique or our strategy is to neutralize the threat first. And so if you are hiding with somebody who's injured and you have first aid capabilities, or the building you have has basic first aid kits, then being able to apply pressure, tourniquets, and use those kits is kind of important and can make the difference. When we talk about how long they last, because this isn't, most of these scenarios aren't going to last long. Half of them are over in 5 minutes. The balance of them, you know, you got about 30% that are going to be over 15 minutes and 20% that are 5 to 14. But most of them are going to be relatively short in duration, and they either end when law enforcement is on scene, or, as I said, the other part of attackers, some of them commit suicide, and others will surrender once law enforcement is there. Your police and fire departments have been actively out training the community. We've trained our own city personnel internally and many of the departments. We have gone out to our business community and community organizations and provided training. Over the last several years, we've done over 24 of these in-person type training things. We've done collaborative exercises with the school district. We just finished a video for the school district to educate their staff. So that was a collaborative effort between the Glendale Police Department, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and the school district to create that video. And we are actually in the process of creating one for our own community using Glendale Police Department staff, and the plan is to put that as a multilingual educational piece, and we're probably looking at a completion date. We're estimating about 60 days or so to have that out, so that can go out and be used by businesses. But, you know, the biggest issue becomes, you know, how do you stop one of these events from happening? And so when we really say, if you see something, say something, this takes on a critical meaning. And in Glendale, we really do mean that. If you look at this from the standpoint, and the Secret Service actually did a study of these, 79, so let's just call it 79%, 80% of them, there was a concern by somebody, whether it was their peer, whether it was law enforcement, co-workers, that something was going to happen. So 80% of the time, somebody looked back at that and said, I had a thought that this person might do that. So again, we talk about see something, say something. Over half of the people had criminal histories, mental health symptoms, or they have substance abuse. And when we kind of look at that, a third of them were involved in had domestic violence histories. 54% of them had violent criminal histories. 57% were involved in nonviolent crimes. 64% of them had mental health related issues. Obviously that adds up to more than 100% because these things occur in people in more than once. But it's like a vast majority of them have had some kind of contact with law enforcement or some type of history, or again, see something, say something. Some of them had financial instability, and as I said, over half of them are motivated by some type of a personal grievance. And so when we kind of look at why people do these things, grievances is the largest area. Mental health makes up about 14%. About 4% do it because they want some sort of notoriety. About 4% for political, 21% is ideologically or some hate crime basis behind that, and 14% nobody was able to figure out. But when you look at the types of grievances, since that's half of it, 46% were related to the workplace type of a problem. 39% meaning that there was some sort of a domestic relationship and a problem in a domestic relationship that resulted in the incident, and then 15 was some sort of of a personal issue. That makes up just that 46% that deals with the grievances, that there is something personal in the relationship that results in the mass incident, in the public incident. So when we talk about this, we really do say, if you see something, say something. Because somebody saw the indicators, and it's important that if you see the indicators, it may not be easy, but it is important to make that phone call or to start reaching out, because early intervention does matter. Here in Glendale, we have a full-time mental health worker assigned to the police department. I know we've talked about that. We've talked about it in relation to that, but this is one of the people that we would use to help assess a particular set. We have threat assessment capabilities within the police department as well. We send people to specialized training so that when someone calls and says, hey, there is an issue that we are concerned about, we can work through a process and determine whether or not we think they're just making a threat or whether they would actually pose a threat. And then, as people probably remember the incident up near Santa Barbara and the college, California actually is a little bit ahead of the curve because they passed the ability to get something called a gun violence restraining order. Most restraining orders deal with keeping people away from other people, and a side impact of that is that you can't have a firearm if you're under a restraining order. This tool allows either a close relative or law enforcement to obtain a restraining order that prevents somebody from owning or possessing weapons. And so when we're talking about see something, say something, if we look at a situation and determine that there is a potential threat or that person is a danger to themselves or others, we can go to court. If we convince a judge of that, we have the ability then to lawfully take any weapons that they have and lawfully prevent them from purchasing weapons and ammunition from any retail store. And so that, as I said, that tool exists, but if we don't know that the problem exists, then we can't deal with that. And that's sort of a new tool. As I said, overall, I would say Glendale's, the partnerships, the planning that we have done, we are prepared to deal with these, as I said, but as your chief of police, I would tell you I'd much rather prevent one than deal with one. As I said, when we kind of watch all of the incidents and we prepare to respond to those types of things, but the partnership with our community is absolutely essential in terms of being able to talk to folks. And as I said, and it may be really tough, because if you are that parent, if you are that friend, and if you see somebody who may be having these issues or you are concerned about something, I am here to tell you, please say something so that we can go through the process and prevent one of these incidents. And with that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from council? Ms. Devine?
The PSAs that you're making for the school and you said the community, are those going to be seen on GTV6?
The plan is to make them available on GTV6 and then also make them available on the internet so that they're widely available. The one for the schools was actually done to train their staff to do some recurrent training, so we're using that as a base.
Okay, and I noticed on several of the shootings that have occurred in recent years, months, weeks, a lot of times it's a young person, and that young person is living at home. And I just want to reinforce the fact that for parents to be vigilant and to watch for signs. I know it's very difficult. You mentioned the restraining order, gun. What was it called?
The gun violence restraining orders.
That parents can request that, and I know how difficult it must be for a parent to do something like that. But again, like you say, you would rather prevent it than have to deal with it. And so I urge parents that are watching tonight to be sure that they keep a close eye on their kids and watch for signs, because we surely don't want anyone to be in a position where they have to deal with an absolutely horrible situation.
And I absolutely agree. And as I said, it is see something, say something. And in the last 3 instances, those did happen to be younger people. But I do want to be careful, because when we look at the broader range, the ages vary from older to younger. And so, if you're a coworker or you're in a relationship with somebody, if you see something, as I said, it is really time to say something. But as I said, parents especially may pick up on it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief, for this report.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Thanks for coming forward, and we look forward to working with you on this issue and getting the word out to the public.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Next item, please.
Next item is the consent items, including minutes following a routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before a motion is proposed.
Second. I'll move the consent calendar. Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Devine,
Yes.
Garpetian, Quintero,
Yes.
Agajanian,
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is City Council and staff comments.
Mr. Quintero?
I would like to nominate Diane Lambalot for the commission. I was going to say committee, the Commission on the Status of Women. She served in the past. She's a former chair and a member, and I think she'll do a great job.
Thank you. That'll be on agenda for next week. Ms. Devine?
I just would like to thank all of the neighbors and the HOA members and presidents and everyone in our community that had anything to do with National Night Out. Every block party that I think we all attended was well-run, fun. It was a great opportunity for neighbors to meet neighbors. And it's just a great tradition, and I think we all had a good time visiting all the neighborhoods, and I just want to thank everybody. I know there's a lot of work that goes into those block parties, so thank you all, and I hope that you'll do it again next year. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Devine. Mr. Agajanian? Nothing. I'd just like to echo Ms. Devine's remarks. We had close to 30 neighborhoods hosting National Night Out events. And aside from being a lot of fun, interacting with the police department and fire department, city council members, neighbors, the message that really needs to be remembered is that we are a city made up of communities and neighborhoods, and that we all have to pull and look out for each other, and that by becoming familiar with our neighbors, we will know our neighborhood better and realize if something seems to be amiss, or if a particular neighbor needs some additional assistance, something doesn't seem quite right. We're all pulling together to make sure that we can together keep Glendale a safe and healthy community. So that's the real purpose of this, and I think it was a rousing success. We had a great turnout, and all the neighborhoods and neighbors and residents were very enthusiastic about this. So it's too bad, someone said it's too bad we can only do this once a year, but because of the planning, it really takes a lot of time. There's no reason why you can't informally have a national night out. If it's just sharing a lemonade with your neighbor over the side fence, or helping another neighbor take his trash bins in on trash day. That's how we build ties, and that's what Glendale is very good about, and that's what makes us a safe, healthy, and desirable city. So thank you for everyone and council members who were involved in our little routine, our little circuit that evening in meeting many neighbors. Okay, next item.
Next item is community event announcements, 3 minutes per announcement, and we have a few cards.
Okay, the first card I have is from Michael Johnson.
That's a big group. Good evening, and thank you for having us here today. I'm Dr. Michael Johnson from Wellness Works Organization. I want to talk to you about the Not on Our Watch event. The event is held September 13th through the 15th at Verdugo Park. This event was started some years ago by veterans of Wellness Works Glendale to bring awareness to the veterans of suicide in our country. The number of veterans is reported as 22 suicides a day nationwide. This year, the event is September 13th through the 15th. The event commemorates the suicide deaths of military personnel and veterans. We hold a vigil where someone is on guard, watch, as we say in the military, to ensure that no veteran commits suicide during this time. There are many people, veterans and civilians alike, that come out to pay their respects and to walk the route designated to represent our vigil. Many of these participants have memories of friends and family members who have passed or have served in the military and want to honor that memory. There will be an opening ceremony at 2 p.m. on August 13th and a closing ceremony at 2 p.m. on August 15th. Our opening ceremony keynote speaker will be Glendale firefighter and former Navy SEAL Guy McDermott. Mayor Era Najarian will provide opening remarks, and Vartan Garapetian, the Mayor Pro Tem, is scheduled to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. As well, we will have the Glendale Police Color Guard. At the closing ceremony, Paula Devine from the City Council will provide opening remarks. The keynote speaker will be Dr. Sharon Berman, Chief of Suicide Prevention. We'll have bagpipers from Arcadia High School, Honor Guard from Glendale Unified School District. There will be a roll call, presentation of the flag, a gong salute, and taps. Closing remarks will be by Wellness Works Executive Director Lisa Raggio. There will also be a flag field of honor, as well as a wall of remembrance where people can place notes or pictures of beloved veterans and military personnel. The colors for the event are purple and white. That represents the colors chosen by the Purple Star Veterans and Family Organization. As you can see, that's what we're all wearing today. T-shirts and Not On Our Watch armbands are available to purchase. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share with you about Wellness Works and the Not On Our Watch event. We welcome your support. And just please remember that Wellness Works has a barbecue each third Saturday of the month, and I'd like to invite you all out. We have one this Saturday, August 17th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you for bringing our awareness again this year to this devastating issue involving our veterans. It's a great event that you have. It's a 48-hour event where someone is at watch, someone or some group is at watch continually. And as you mentioned, 2 p.m. on Friday until 2 p.m. on Sunday will be the period of the watch. I'm happy to support it. Thank you for everything you do. Ms. Devine?
It's always an honor to participate in this watch. I want to tell everyone it's on September 13th to September 15th at Verdugo Park, and I look forward to being there. And thank you for putting on this event every year. Much appreciated by vets, I know, and by families of vets and everyone else that knows a vet. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is David Eisenberg.
Good evening, Mayor Najarian and council members. I'd like to thank the City Council and Glendale residents. We've taken a lead in quite a number of environmental issues. Just recently, you passed the IRP, which I think is going to take us on the path to 100% clean energy. I remember we talked about the plastic bag ban a few years ago, and Glendale was one of the first cities to do that. Tonight, you're going to be discussing a lot of issues about trash collection. And while you're doing that, I'd like you to think of another way you could take the lead, and that's with single-use plastics. It's not on any of the agenda items, but there's opportunity there. The single-use products is plastic packaging. They create numerous problems. Ms. Wheeler from the recycling department has talked to our group, and China is not going to be buying the recycled products that we're so used to putting in the landfill. And even the amount of money that we get is it's so little that they do one pass-through. So if there's a small plastic item, a bottle cap, a straw, something that would have been recyclable 10 years ago because it would have gone to China is not going to be recyclable. And so while you're looking at this, it's a huge amount of money. I know California spends over $400 million dealing with these waste issues. My last look at a budget I could find on the internet shows in 2017 and 18, Glendale spent about $30 million on trash collection on public works. If there's a way to reduce that, if something comes to mind that you can direct staff, is there a way that we can put a ban on containers in restaurants, plastic bottles, plastic straws, any of these items that it's possible to deal with? I'd like to ask that the council does that. Thank you.
And, Mr. Mayor, as a matter of fact, I would like to have that item agendized, that we look into banning plastics in restaurants, using paper, recyclable. I don't know if we've ever done that before, but I think you make a good point, and I'd like to, if I can get a second from one of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Wolfson?
Good evening. I'm Susan Wolfson, Glendale homeowner for 12 years, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and thank you for your service to our community. Tonight I want to talk about traffic issues in the city. Recently there's been some discussion of road diets as a way to address our traffic concerns. And I have some alternative ideas about this, if you'll indulge me. First, we need a comprehensive traffic study done for our city. I've looked on the website and I can't see any mention of such a study, so I know it has to be a really long time since the last one was done. I think we need to do that again. We need to consider the entire city, not any small section, but the whole city. And when the counts are done, I think they should be done at the most congested, times of day, rather than doing them mid-morning or other off-peak hours, because that's not really going to tell us what we need to know. Second, once we have that data in hand, then we can make decisions about what kinds of measures are required. And I personally would hope that we would do things that are very well proven to be effective rather than newer things. I think road diets are kind of a new thing, and I don't know that they've been proven to be completely effective at doing the job. We have to take everybody into account, everybody's concerns, including businesses whose they may experience some pretty negative consequences if traffic is drastically rerouted. Third, we should refer to this data whenever considering any new projects. We have to preserve our single-family residential neighborhoods, but we also have to have consideration for the people who live in and own homes in denser areas, and maybe they've already absorbed enough density. And finally, we should take the concerns of the people who are going to be most affected. That should be the greatest emphasis and greatest weight. I think the city needs to resist any unreasonable demands that are made on it by the state. We have to respect our own ordinances and what our residents want, and we have to fight back, just like a past council did to recoup monies when redevelopment was dissolved in 2012. So, we have to fight for what we deserve. So anyhow, that's what I have to say tonight. Thank you very much for allowing me to express my opinions.
Thank you. And Karen Kwok.
Hi, I'm Karen Kwok, and I would like to invite any tenants who have questions about the city's new right to lease ordinance to a free legal workshop offered by the Neighborhood Legal Services at 1104 East Chevy Chase Boulevard. This is being held on the first and third Thursday of each month. Next one is coming up this Thursday at 4:30 to 6:30. I made this announcement at the last workshop that the city hosted to explain the ordinance to residents, and they were very happy to hear what we had to say, so I would like to make sure that as many people as possible understand this, that this service is available to them. Thank you.
What was that address again?
This is Neighborhood Legal Services at 1104 East Chevy Chase.
Thank you. I have no other cards, so we will, Mr.
I actually have a question for the staff. When was the last time we had a comprehensive traffic study?
That's a good question, Councilmember Quintero. As I look to my right and across the way, since I have two gentlemen here from Public Works, I don't think, at least in the last 5+ years that I'm aware of, that we've had a comprehensive study and analysis on traffic. Have we done it in increments in terms of certain areas based on having to go through an EIR process for development that needs to occur? Yes. But a comprehensive plan, I don't think we have one in place at this time or ever have done one. But we can look into that.
This isn't something that, for instance, SCAG would want an update every 10 years, or it doesn't concern SCAG in any way in the past like they do housing?
Not in terms of SCAG's numbers. Of course, as you know, they have their housing element and RENA numbers associated with the housing element in each community. But in terms of traffic, again, I haven't seen anything come out of SCAG. I have, however, seen at times grants that have come out from SCAG for
that's what I was thinking.
Kind of COGS, consortium of governments, to do studies themselves, or particular cities to do studies if it's something that's of broader regional significance.
Yeah, I was thinking it's worth exploring, see if they do have funding. It could be us in Burbank or whatever, us alone. We're certainly big enough.
Yeah, we will explore.
Can we get a staff report on that? Or
we can send you a memo
sort of
on what we find.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So don't forget, we have done a greater downtown mobility study.
Right.
So that was done in the not too distant past. The question is, to what extent do you want to drill down on the mobility issues and transit issues? So
right.
maybe we can dust off that mobility study as a starting point and see where we are in that, and then go.
And when you did South Glendale, for instance, was there also a traffic study done as you?
Yes, because of the transit-oriented development piece that's associated with the South Glendale Community Plan, if and when such development were to come into fruition. Traffic studies were done at the major thoroughfares. So we'll dust some information off, put maybe a white paper together with information related to traffic in general, and see if there are any opportunities for us to partner up with any cities and go after any grants that may be available as well.
Okay. Thank you, and I don't have any other cards. Let's move on to the next item.
7A, under adoption of ordinances, an ordinance amending Chapter 8.44 of the Glendale Municipal Code 1995 pertaining to refuse, yard trimming, and recyclable material collection and disposal, and Chapter 8.58 pertaining to construction and demolition debris diversion program. This was introduced on July 30th, 2019 by Councilmember Agajanian.
Okay.
I'd like to move the item if there is no.
I'll let you move it.
I'll second it.
And I'll let you second it, but we do have a speaker card from Rafi Krikorian.
I just noticed the ordinance that's being, I don't know if you're voting today or if you're considering it, but there's a lot. It's many, many pages, and I'll just take a few items and ask you about it. It says here, all project C and D debris must be taken to a certified mixed debris recycling facility or reused. The project must divert and document diversion of 65% or greater of the total estimated project debris from the landfill as determined by the building official and/or CalGreen. A certified mixed debris recycling facility must be used for diversion credit unless an exemption has been granted, so on. So a couple of questions. How many certified mixed debris recycling facilities are available within a 10-mile radius? I don't know if anyone's got the answer for that. The other one is, are there any cost estimates per average project? It sounds very expensive. How exactly do we determine what constitutes 65% threshold? I looked, I couldn't find any of these answers. Is there any formula or a spreadsheet or any document that illustrates how this program would work step by step? If so, can we take a look and give feedback before you move forward? Have you invited any people from the industry to comment on this? Plans shall also specify how the project will deconstruct materials for diversion. The weight of specified materials and the location materials will be sent for reuse and recycling. This seems really simple and straightforward in theory, but it doesn't take into account the nature of the jobs and the challenges contractors face on construction sites. Things seldom go as planned. For example, you plan on recycling lumber only to find out it's been devoured by termites. That happens all the time. This is just one example, quickly. I'm trying to convey, what I'm trying to convey is that before we commit to ordinances born based on theory, put them into real-world test. Theories are a combination of educated guesses and imagination. That often doesn't work out on the job site. Job sites, construction job sites are very dynamic places. You have to be able to turn left and right to make changes, to go around problems. So I hope you have some answers before you vote yes. Thank you.
Ms. Beers, we had a couple questions. Do we have a building official available or someone?
Our building official is available, and Mr. Amrani is here. I think it would be good for Mr. Amrani to briefly tell you what this ordinance is about, since it's been 2 weeks, and answer any questions that he can. And if the building official needs to fill in some of the blanks, he can do so as well. Mr. Amrani?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the purpose of this ordinance was to unify and consolidate everything under the Community Development Department under the building official, since they are dealing with most of the requirements related to the construction, debris, and demolition. And these are, and we were, so as a result of this, we spoke with, we had discussions with the building official and the Community Development Department to make sure that we're in compliance, and it's also basically conforms to the building codes that we have in place. And in terms of the specific questions, I'm going to ask Mr. Jan Beer to come up and provide us with some of those specific answers.
Mayor, City Council, it's a pleasure. This is actually, although it is a new ordinance, it is not a change in the practices that we have. This has been in place since 2010. We've been operating this program. The ordinance itself is just altering the existing regulations so that we can, like you said, gain efficiencies by having this program directly in the building and safety department, so that clients and customers only deal with one department and not two. We have been asking for, we have a standard form. It's available online. It has the whole calculations on how to determine how much debris is generated under typical projects. It tells how to recycle it. It tells how the amounts are calculated. And we incorporate that on the different projects. The reason this ordinance is also coming up is the Green Building Code, which starting in 2011, started mandating a greater diversion than what the city had, we would defer to that, and this kind of consolidates it so that every 3 years as the state green building code comes in, our local ordinance is also adopted. So if he has any questions on how this actually affects and how our track record is, we can meet with him anytime.
Thank you very much. And so, at your convenience, Mr. Krikorian, you can speak to Mr. Bear now or later. I don't have any other cards. I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian? Quintero?
Yes.
Agajanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes. Next item, please.
Your action items, 8A is Director of Human Resources and Fire Chief regarding amendment to City Glendale Firefighters Association GFFA Memorandum of Understanding and Establishment of Special Operations Urban Search and Rescue Program. 8A1 is resolution amending City GFFA Memorandum of Understanding Amendment Number 1.
Ms. Beers.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this is an item that we ask for council consideration between the City of Glendale and the GFFA in terms of an amendment related to the hazmat and USAR programs going under one umbrella. And for details, I would ask our HR Director, Mr. Doyle, to give you those details. Mr. Doyle.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this item is an amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Glendale and the Glendale Firefighters Association, which will formally reactivate the Urban Search and Rescue Program within the fire department. This is the first amendment to this 3-year MOU, which was adopted in 2018. This amendment combines our existing hazardous materials program with firefighters specially trained in urban search and rescue into one program, which will hereafter be known as Special Operations. There are currently 36 firefighters trained in our hazardous materials program, and for that they receive an additional $275 per month for that certification. The fire department has approximately 17 current firefighters specially trained in urban search and rescue, and these employees would be rolled into this special operations program and be compensated the same as our hazmat certified employees. So for the initial year, we would estimate having about 53 firefighters total in the combined hazmat USAR special operations program. Ideally, the fire department would like to eventually add as many as 9 more USAR trained firefighters in the following year. With the recent earthquakes, the population levels, activities, and general characteristics of the Glendale community, there are very likely to be increasing incidents necessitating urban search and rescue. And I know this has been a priority of our fire chief since his appointment earlier this year. With that, I'll let Chief Lanzas convey his thoughts on the need for this program.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Silvio Lanzas, your fire chief. I really don't have a lot more to add than what Mr. Doyle has mentioned. I will only say that the commitment by our firefighters for the past 20-plus years to remain certified in the urban search and rescue discipline is one that's commendable. We are one of the last cities across the LA region to appropriately compensate our employees for this extra work. I was a 15-year member of a federal USAR team that had deployments. My team deployed to the September 11 attacks, Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Katrina, and several other disasters across the country. And this discipline, the urban search and rescue discipline, along with hazmat, is one that requires a tremendous amount of dedication, passion, and additional work. And so it's very appropriate for us in this city to have our own urban search and rescue component. We will be one of the smallest fire departments in the LA region to maintain a Type 1 USAR program as well as a Type 1 hazardous materials program, which continues to make us a leader and a proud fire department that each of you should hold high. I'm available for questions should you have any.
Mr. Quintero?
I was going to say that I believe the firefighters are going to be cross-trained in the 2 disciplines.
We will have some firefighters that are dual role, that are USAR qualified as well as hazardous materials qualified, that will allow us as the leaders of the organization to use them possibly one day in hazmat, one day in urban search and rescue. Oftentimes, an urban search and rescue incident, let's say an earthquake, July 4th is a prime example, had that earthquake been here, we would have had many urban search and rescue components building collapses, parking structure collapses, freeway overpass collapses, the myriad of those, all of those bring a hazardous materials component with them also. So bringing the two disciplines together is really an improvement to the program and a great benefit to the public.
And then the training itself is done throughout Southern California. The firefighters do it on their own time. They're not being compensated while they take the training, correct?
Correct. There's about 7 core classes that are required for urban search and rescue. We do teach most of those here in the city at our regional training center and at our training center off of Chevy Chase. We do teach many of those. There's also local departments, LA City, Long Beach, Santa Fe Springs, out in Riverside, Clark Training Center offers a lot of those classes, and as far as San Diego. And our firefighters, for the most part, are attending these classes on their own time. That's why we're adding that we'd like to add that number of 9, because we have firefighters that are in the process of meeting that requirement as we speak. 17 we have currently qualified today.
Great.
Chief, in March of 2005, there was a Metrolink crash on our border with Los Angeles. Is that the type of incident that USAR would respond to?
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, members of council, you bring up a great point. I want to make sure that we emphasize that this urban search and rescue component is an everyday component. We actually had a vehicle into a residence today, into a structure today. Those type of incidents, it was not significant, but those type of incidents are deployable by our urban search and rescue folks as we speak today. We had 5 members on duty today that are urban search and rescue qualified. The Metrolink accident is a prime example. Murrieta a few weeks ago had that natural gas explosion that essentially leveled a home. All of those type of disciplines are everyday disciplines. It doesn't require an earthquake for us to need this component in our city every single day.
And do we offer these trained men and women as mutual aid if any of our neighbors have a significant event?
Absolutely. With our unified response component through the Verdugo dispatch, we have a no borders clause. So currently, if another example that I'll give you was the gentleman that we rescued off the side of the next building, the construction worker that was on the next building here a couple months ago that got stuck up on a crane. We had members from Pasadena's Urban Search and Rescue that responded with us. We are also part of Area C's Rescue Task Force number 4, which is one of 12 urban search and rescue teams across California that responds throughout the region, Area C and abroad if called upon. Our Rescue Task Force 4, 13 members responded to the mudslides in Ventura County at the end of 2017, as well as the Camp Fire last year up in Paradise, California.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
I'll move that item.
Is there a second? Second. I don't have any other cards. I don't have any cards. Roll call, please.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian? Quintero?
Yes.
Agajanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is a public hearing. 9A is Fire Chief regarding weed abatement charges, 2018-2019. 9A1 is a resolution confirming weed abatement charges.
Ms. Beers.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, since Chief Lanzas is standing before you, we'll have him give you a presentation, a quick PowerPoint. We typically haven't had a PowerPoint when we have discussed weed abatement charges that come by way of the county, but based on your feedback, sir, and the need to also, update the community every once in a while on these items, the chief put together a PowerPoint presentation, so I'll hand it off to Chief Lanzas.
Yeah, usually this is a cut and dry presentation, but I know that, again, in light of the recent events in the past year or 2 years, and perhaps going forward as well, this has become a very important preventive measure, and that's why I asked for a little bit more information, and perhaps you've got some graphics to inform our citizens on how important it is to perform these tasks.
Mr. Mayor, it is a public hearing, so if you want to open it before the presentation or at some point.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. I will open the public hearing.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of council, Sylvia Alonso once again, your fire chief, and I'll briefly just talk about our brush clearance program, our vegetation management program. I'm going to run through a couple of introductory comments into the program itself and then talk to you about some of the stats and some of the successes that we have seen with partnering with our community thus far this year. A wildfire is an unplanned, unwanted fire burning in a natural area such as a forest, grassland, or hillside. As building development expands into these areas, homes and businesses may be situated in or near areas susceptible to wildfires. This is called the wildland-urban interface. We in this city have a large area of wildland-urban interface. The beautiful hillside homes that we see throughout our community pose a significant wildland-urban interface risk to us. Wildfires can damage natural resources, destroy homes, and threaten the safety of the public and the firefighters who protect forests and communities. The impacts of a wildfire are many. Federal suppression costs annually cost $1 to $2 billion each year. We've seen throughout the last 3 years, and this is pretty astonishing, every year for the past 3 years, the most devastating fire has outpaced the year prior. Every year for the past 3 years. That's never happened before. For a long time, the Cedar Fire in San Diego County in 2006, I believe, was the most devastating fire, and that got quickly outpaced. Wildfires can cause death or injury to people and animals. Structures may be damaged or destroyed. Transportation, gas, power, communications, and other services may be disrupted. As we all know, Southern California Edison, one of the largest electrical providers, has recently enacted the potential to shut down power to its customers during high threat days, high wind days. Flying embers can set fires to buildings more than a mile away from the wildfire itself. Smoke causes health issues for people, even as far away from the fire as multiple miles. Extensive acreage can be burned, damaging watershed and critical natural areas. Flash flood and mudslides can result from fire damage to the surrounding landscape. We saw that in the fires in Ventura County at the end of 2017 and into 18. Wildfires can affect the land for many years, including causing changes to the soil that increase the risk for future floods. Sometimes these areas just don't grow back. Keeping our homes safe and our buildings safe is key, and preparedness is really the message that I want to send. We have 2 zones in our area in our wildfire program, our vegetation management program. The first, Zone 1, extends 30 feet from a building. Zone 2 is 100 feet from the building. And the picture that you see on the slide is a fantastic illustration of the 30-foot clearance and the 100-foot clearance. As you can see, this home here is surrounded by a brush fire that impacted this area, and the home is still as beautiful as it was before the incident. Our brush clearance program fee. Our fee is $15 per parcel throughout the 9,190 parcels within the high fire severity zone. The fee covers the inspection of every single property physically inspected by our vegetation management program inspector, who happens to be here tonight, Jeremy Kahn. I'd like to acknowledge his efforts. He's done an outstanding job this year as we took a very aggressive approach at getting out ahead of this year with what we've learned from the past few years. It also pays for fire prevention staff to regularly respond to requests to meet with local residents and neighbors to provide wildfire safety education. The administrative cost for brush clearance education, notifications, mailers, and follow-ups. We receive, on average, 100+ phone calls a week during brush clearance season. Lately, we've seen up to 200 in our fire prevention section, sometimes creeping up to 100 a day with some of the questions, which we're happy to get those. We're happy that the community's engaged in calling us and talking to us and allowing us the time to speak to them and educate them about what we're actually requiring of them. Management of our weed abatement contract services with Los Angeles County Weed Abatement, which I'd also like to recognize. Los Angeles County is here tonight. Ellen Walton, Deputy Commissioner, and Liza Chang, Area Inspector, are here with us tonight. Will be available at the end of my presentation to answer any questions if we have any. And the software, we use 3DI. It's a new program. We just started using it this year fully for the first time, and we're seeing great success with its use. The brush clearance program, your fire department inspected all 9,190 properties which fall in our high fire severity zone. This year we worked with our Glendale community to quickly make the majority of those properties safer to defend during a wildfire. So far, 2019, we've completed 82% of property owners, so roughly 7,500 properties in the high fire severity zone, have been cleared of hazardous vegetation prior to our first inspection. That's tremendous. That is a significant accomplishment by our community for us to get out there at the first inspection and have 82% of them already cleared. And it is a balancing act because this past winter we had a heavy rain year, which causes the grass and brush to grow more populously than usual. The balancing act of when to cut your brush and when we get out there to start encouraging that clearance is somewhat challenging because you don't want to do it too early and cause and have the potential of it regrowing back by the wind season. You know, the September, October, November season is our Santa Ana fire season time, which is when we see the largest, most devastating fires throughout Southern California. So this year we started April 1st with starting our inspections, and we have completed all 9,190. And as I mentioned, Jeremy Kahn is the inspector who personally walked each of those properties. These are some stats. As you can see, we've been aggressive. Last year we completed 4,117 inspections. This year we've completed all 9,190, and that is not easily done. One point that I'll make to the slide, in the percent completed for 2019, the top line, if you'll look at that line, it does show 85 and 14, and the reason there was a fraction to those percentages. So it's closer to 86 and 14% is what the completion rate is on those. These are a couple pictures throughout our community of some of the examples of the cooperation that we have seen, the partnership that we've seen with our community. Again, that 82%, we'd like to thank the community for partnering with us and to help us make our community safer. And these are some images that I'd just like to share as a reality of what we face. There is no community that is immune from a devastating wildfire. These pictures are from Weed, California, Northern California. I believe this fire was in 2014, devastated the community of Weed. That's the before and after. The campfire last year in Paradise, I was on a fire as a young firefighter in 1996 in Paradise, and I could tell you that I never thought that a town like Paradise could be devastated the way it was. Never. It's not a community that you would think, you know, that this is a mountain community that someday's got the potential. It's the reality is in the wind, a fire can destroy and devastate any community. So the preparedness piece is critical to our success. It's the end of my presentation, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm available for questions, as is the members of LA County, the LA County folks that are here, as well as Jeremy Kahn, our inspector, and our Fire Marshal Jeff Ragusa, who's available to answer any questions should you have any.
Well, good work, Chief, on all the inspections that we did. That's certainly, you've set the bar for this upcoming year. So we expect another 9,190 inspections to take place. And that's what that, largely what that $15 fee, parcel inspection fee, goes towards.
Correct.
I've got some calls from people who, this is the second year that we've implemented it, but they're rather surprised and maybe they forgot what the purpose of that was for. But it's obviously to keep the entire community safe. And those pictures of Weed looked like it was a very suburban area, not a lot of wild brush all around it, but yet when the fire came through, it was completely destroyed. I mean, that's really devastating. So, Ms. Devine?
Yeah, I just want to thank you and mention that this is the first time that you've ever covered every single property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, good job. Do you need a new pair of shoes? We contribute to new shoes or something for that.
I told him today,
Jeremy?
actually, that maybe we should get him a Segway. Maybe run around in a Segway doing those.
Right. And also kudos to those residents that had already cleared before you even sent out the instructions or the time limit, and were already prepared, and that's really showing a lot of due diligence by our residents. So that's kudos to all of them. Thank you. Thank you all.
And just a reminder to the residents, should they not clear their brush, the county will come in and clear it for you at a premium price. It's much better to contact. I know the GYA is very much involved, and there's other landscaping companies that can do that at a much more reasonable rate than the county crews that come out and do it. So if safety of your community is not an incentive, perhaps the financial bite of a county crew with all their, well, it's much more expensive. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to go through in detail what their costs are. Mr. Quintero.
Yeah, let me expand on the GYA. So the Glendale Youth Authority, I've used them to clear my hillside from the very beginning, actually. And it's just a tremendous deal. Number one, they're young people from Glendale who are being paid to do this type of work, but they're totally supervised. They do an efficient job. Of course, they're insured. The homeowner doesn't have to worry about any possible workers' comp lawsuits. And I've been satisfied with them. They just really do a good job, more than an average job. So I suggest anyone watching, if they have friends or their own hillside, it doesn't even have to be a hillside. The Verdugo Woodlands is so heavily wooded, those neighborhoods have to consider the fire hazards themselves. But I suggest they call the Glendale Youth Alliance here in the city of Glendale.
Thank you. I don't have any cards on this item. I will close the hearing. And is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Devine? Yes. Garpetian? Quintero?
Yes.
Agajanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. And members of the county and state that are here. Next item, please.
Next item is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. City manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and a report.
First card is Valerie Remy Milora, followed by Sabrina Milora.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Before I address what I'm here to talk about, I just wanted to express my personal gratitude to the Chief of Police. I happen to have spent almost every single one of my childhood summers in El Paso, and those news hit very close to home. So I appreciate the efforts that are made to keep our Glendale community safe. I want to talk about a different kind of violence today. I know I've been here a few times already to speak about this, and that is Planned Parenthood and the violence that it inflicts on the women of our community, or potentially will inflict if they do open their office, as they plan to do so. I am a resident of Glendale. I'm a mother of 3 daughters. I'm also a personal trainer and a nutrition coach. I work with women every single day. My mission is to empower women to develop a healthy relationship with their bodies and to fully understand their unique worth. And as such, I truly believe that if you care deeply about women, and I don't know why my sound is coming in and out, so, but anyways, you will reject the lies of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood does not have the best interest of women at heart. In fact, they prey on our youngest and most innocent. During the last City Council meeting, you made the proclamation designating July 30th as the 8th annual Comfort Women Day. I applaud you for that. No woman should ever know the trauma and agony of sex trafficking. The pain is deep enough for women who understand what they are being subjected to, but for the youngest of victims who do not even understand what's going on, that pain runs even deeper. The suffering and the healing from that suffering often last the rest of their life. Planned Parenthood has been caught shielding sexual child predators, lying about what services they provide, deceiving government officials, defying state and federal laws, and submitting fraudulent medical claims. Because of the partnership between Planned Parenthood and the Glendale School District, as I spoke about last week, or the last time that I was here, I have had to make the decision to pull my daughter out of Glendale Public Schools because I do not deem those schools to be safe. teachers and staff to be trained on how to obtain an abortion for a child without parental consent, puts those children at risk. It also makes schools a safe haven for child sexual predators and one of the most dangerous places for our daughters. In addition, because of the partnership between Planned Parenthood and the Glendale education system, as well as across the nation, their partnership specifically regarding the sexual education program. In that program, children as young as 10 years old, but really ultimately as young as the curriculum really starts in kindergarten, the focus when it comes to sexuality specifically is middle school through high school. And children at that age are taught as young as 10 years old about every potential or possible sexual act, including oral sex and anal sex. Those are the two preferred methods of sexual predators. Our daughters are basically being groomed. They're being desensitized. They're being taught that being sexually active at their age is not only normal, it is desirable and healthy. I hope you see how that is truly a dangerous thing for our daughters. And for our young men, by the way. So some of the things that I really want you to think about. What kind of message does a partnership with Planned Parenthood give to our young daughters? What will happen to a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old daughter, like my own, who is sexually violated, taken to Planned Parenthood to obtain an abortion without her parents' consent? After the abortion, she returns home. There are traumatic psychological consequences, potential physical consequences, deep hemorrhaging, for example, depression. There are all sorts of consequences that this child could face, and yet she would have no way of letting her parents know why. Her parents were not notified by the school district about her going to Planned Parenthood and getting this abortion because staff has been trained on how to document these absences so that parents do not receive the call. The worst case scenario is that child could actually take her own life when she is completely depressed and not able to understand what she has been through and has no one to speak to about those things. So bottom line, if you care deeply about women, you will reject Planned Parenthood. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabrina Milora, followed by Irina Varjabedian.
Good evening. My name is Sabrina Milora. I'm 12 years old, and I'm here to talk about why I do not want Planned Parenthood in Glendale. I was really shocked to find out today that Planned Parenthood receives charity money. Planned Parenthood does not need money. I do understand that they are a nonprofit organization, but they still make a huge profit every year. If you look at the annual report for the Pasadena affiliate, the one that wants to open an office in Glendale, it states very clearly that they made a huge profit last year. According to this report, Planned Parenthood had $21,393,628 in revenue and $15,427,337 in expenses. That means that Planned Parenthood of Pasadena made a profit of $5,965,291. That's a crazy amount of money. And yet they still say that if their funding is cut, they won't be able to provide the services that women need, which is clearly a lie. So please, don't let Planned Parenthood open in Glendale. Thank you.
Thank you. Irina Varjabedian. Irina will be followed by Serpuhi Tagvorian.
Hello, I'm a resident of Glendale, and I just found out the past few weeks that AT&T wants to install 5G cell towers all over Glendale, so I'm very disturbed about this, and I'm asking the city of Glendale to pass an emergency ordinance modeled after the city of Fairfax. City of Fairfax already passed emergency ordinance regarding this. Now, there has been lots of studies about the small cell project, which is, 5G is the latest. NIH has already done studies that it causes 7 kinds of cancer plus other health issues. Also, other than the human health problems, environmentally, it's detrimental. It's been proven wherever there's 5G, it's killing birds and, birds and bees. So if we care about life, this is just a horrible project that AT&T is imposing on Glendale. Now, last week we were at a town hall meeting, and there were lots of people because they knew about this. They came and talked, and they showed their concern that they don't want this in their city. But I don't know what was the purpose of that town hall meeting if the decision makers are you, right? So I don't know why you were not present at the town hall meeting, because there's lots of opposition regarding this. You're elected officials, you took an oath to serve the people, us, not the corporations. I beg you, please. AT&T is a corporation. They're trying to make money out of this. And you have families too, you have children. This is detrimental for everybody. We shouldn't allow AT&T to put these cell towers in Glendale. I hope, the city of Glendale will be an example for other cities to follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I have a copy of the emergency ordinance.
Yeah, they are very close to the houses, only 16 feet.
Mr. Mayor, members.
Ridgeway Drive, Glendale.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, as you know, there are a number of small cell tower encroachment permits that are before the City of Glendale at this time. Our review and our opportunity based on federal law is quite limited as it relates to small cell towers, even more so limited than actual cell antennas that are not 5G. And I know our city attorney's here if you'd like a little more information on that, but based on federal law, unfortunately, there are limitations based on our ability to be able to disallow small cell towers, 5G towers to be placed within the city of Glendale.
I'd like to hear from the city attorney. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, just very briefly, as this was an oral communications matter and not to commence a debate or large discussion. And just to reiterate in part what Ms. Beers already said about the limitations that we have, frequently the concerns have to do with radio frequency, and that is not something that we are allowed to regulate pursuant to the federal regulations from the FCC. Part of the application, the applicant must establish that there are gaps in their coverage networks. It is my understanding through speaking with staff that that information was provided. It was independently verified that there were gaps in coverage that would qualify these applications to move forward. So that is a status of the applications at this point in time. If you have any further questions, I'm sure staff could provide some additional briefing to you.
Okay. Thank you. Serpuhi Tagvoria.
Good evening. My name is Serpuhi Tagvoria. I'm a resident of Glendale. I lived in here 25 years. And the situation bothers me a lot. It's not safe for G5. It's not safe for people. It's not safe for environment. I heard that Burbank didn't allow this. Why do we? Why Glendale should allow AT&T put these towers? Since it's not safe. Because they're going to make money out of it? We have kids around. I'm against. I want to know your opinions. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. I don't have any other cards. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any new business? No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.